This lesson is on exponent property. On the left will be a list of properties, and then on the right is the example for its property. So the first property is zero power. Zero power will give me 1. Here is an example. 3 to the 0 is 1. Be very careful. Zero power is not 0. Zero power is 1. Okay, so be very careful of that. Next property, to the first power comes back to itself. So the example, 3 to the first power is 3. Next property, we call this product property. You can only do this if they have the same base. When I have same base, I add my power. So here is an example, 3 squared, 3 to the third. Since I have the same base, I only add power. 2 plus 3 gives me 5. Okay, so it would be 3 to the 5th power. Next property is the quotient rule. When I have quotient, quotient is divide, so then I subtract power. Again, same base, then I can subtract. So 5 subtract 2, which gives me 3. Okay. Again, be very careful. You can only do add powers when I have same base, subtract power when I have same base. The next property is called power of power. Here I have parentheses. When I have parentheses, that's when I actually multiply. So here is the example. Parentheses, 4 times 2 gives me 8. So the answer should be 3 to the 8th power. Now I want to make a note of this. Be very careful of this rule and also this rule. You notice that there's a dot here, that means multiply. We are not multiplying, we are adding powers. And the reason why we add power here, because there's no parentheses, so we just add. Over here we have parentheses, that's when you actually multiply the powers. So be very careful. This property, there is no parentheses, so add power. Here I have parentheses, so I multiply the powers. Okay, so be very careful of this property and this property. This one we add, this one we multiply. And the reason is this has parentheses, this does not have parentheses. Even though I have this dot means multiply, but because I have no parentheses, I add power. This I have parentheses, so I multiply powers. Okay. Next rule, I have power of quotient. So I have something divide over something, so I just distribute the power. So here's an example, 3/4 to the 2nd power. So distribute this 2 to the 3. So I have 3 squared. Distribute this 2 to the 4. So I have 4 squared. Okay, so just distribute top and also bottom. Okay. Next, I have power of products. When I have 2 items or more in a parentheses, I distribute the power. So M to the A, M for the B. Same thing here. Here's an example of this. I have 3 items. I have number 3, I have A, I have B, and I'm going to use this 3 right here and distribute to each of the items. So 3 to the 3rd, A to the 3rd, and then B to the 3rd. Okay, so distribute. So power of products is when you have multiple items in the parentheses, you distribute the power. Okay, the last 3 is the negative powers. If I have negative powers, I will bring it down and the negative go away. So here's the negative power. I rewrite it as a fraction and then the negative go away. So here's an example, 3 to the -4th. Rewrite it as a fraction, 1 over this whole thing, but ignore the negative. So the negative go away. Okay. The next negative power is what happened in a fraction and the power is negative. So rewrite it as a positive. All you're doing is you're just flipping this to positive. Same. So if you look very carefully, this negative power properties and this one is very similar. All you're doing is you just flipping it. That's all you're doing. So negative power, rewrite it as a fraction, throw away the negative. Same thing here. What happened if the fraction has a negative power? Then just rewrite it as positive power. Okay, so here is an example. So I have negative in the fraction, so rewrite it as a positive. Okay, so be very careful of these two negative properties. Okay, here's another negative properties when I have a fraction. So first thing is flip the AB, so that becomes BA, and then the negative will become positive. Okay, so flip the AB becomes BA, and the negative go away. And then after that, distribute the n to the b, distribute the n to the a. Okay, so here's an example: 2/3 to the negative fifth, 2 over 3 to the negative fifth power. First thing is flip the 2/3, which become 3 over 2. The negative 5 become positive, and then distribute the 5 to the 3, distribute the 5 to the 2. Okay, so these are the last three negative powers. So be very careful of the negative powers. Okay, so on the left side is all of the properties, list of properties, exponent properties, and this is the example of its properties. Okay, now we're going to use all of these properties as much as we can in this example, which is a little bit more work, but using all the properties. So here we go. First thing is, as you can see, focus the inside first. I have parentheses. I have 3 items. So 4 distribute to the 2 gives me 2 to the 4th. 4, because I have parentheses, 4 times 2 gives me 8. 4 times 4 gives me 16. Okay, one more time. Because I have parentheses, 4 to the 2, distribute this 4 to the 2, so that I have 2 to the 4th. 4 times 2 gives me 8. 4 times 4 gives me 16. Again, because I have parentheses, I have to distribute. Now the top, there's nothing to do, so I just rewrite 2 and y 17. There's a reason why I put a 1 here, because 2 to the first power is 2. Okay, bring down this 3. Okay, next we have multiple items inside this division, so I'm going to separate it. The 2 go to the 2. There's only one x, there's no other x on top, so x stay by itself. The y go to y, so separate them out by the letters or number. So 2 go with the 2. X, there's no other x, so leave that alone. Here I have a y right here, y top and y bottom. I separate them. Okay. Next, I have division, which is the quotient rule. Quotient rule means subtract. So 1 subtract 4. That's what I have here. X, there's nothing to do with it, so leave it alone. 17 subtract 16. That's what I have down here. Next, simplify this. 1 subtract 4 gives me -3. This x to the 8th power, there's nothing, so leave it alone. 17 subtract 16 gives me +1. Okay, now rewrite this as a fractions because I have negative powers. So negative power, rewrite it as 1 over 2 to the 3rd. Okay, again, negative fractions, negative power, rewrite it as a fraction. This is already a fraction, just bring it down. This is a positive, so leave it on top. If it's positive, leave it on top. If it's negative, bring it to the bottom and throw away the negative. Okay, one more time. This is a positive power, leave it on top. This is a negative power, right here, negative power, bring it down to become positive power. Next, just combine, simplify this again. So 1 times 1 times y to the +1 power is to itself. Put these two together, I have right here. Now finally, I have something on top, something in the bottom, everything to the third power. Pretend that this is a parentheses. We distribute, so 3 times 1 gives me 3. 3 times this 3 gives me 9. And then 3 times 8 gives me 24. Okay, and this is the final answer. One more time. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 3 gives me 9. 3 times 8 gives me 24. Okay, and this is the final answer. Again, this example is using a lot of exponent property to get to the final answer. Okay, so be very careful of the exponent property.